Hey kids, what's happening? My wife was just asking me, she said, when we're out riding on the bike, can you tell a difference when you have a passenger on the back? I thought, well, that's a good question. That's something we can talk about today. Do you ride with a passenger? In my case, I do some solo riding, but my wife and I like to ride together. She likes to ride. And when somebody's on the back of the bike, it does make a little bit of a difference. Of course, that depends on the bike you're riding too. If you got the bigger the bike, I think the less you're going to actually feel it. If you got a really small bike, yeah, you're really going to notice it. Now the thing is, when you got a passenger on the back, and you'll see that my back seat's even a little higher than the saddle on the for the driver. So what happens is it changes your center of balance, your center of gravity. So right away there, you got that issue going on. I like to tell my wife, and she's a good rider, when she's on the back, she's pretty much one with me. If I lean, she leans. If I lean this way, she leans. She knows when I'm going to brake or when I'm going to accelerate and what to expect. But if you have a passenger that's unfamiliar with riding, it can really throw off your balance. Now, when you're riding by yourself, you have complete control. You got control of the bars, the grips, the clutch, the brakes. And whether you stop or you take off, you have full control of that. You have full control of your balance going into turns and whatnot. When a passenger's on the back, it can make things just a little bit different. At a stop, you're balancing the bike, your feet are down on the ground, you're holding the bike up. The passenger's sitting on the back. In most cases, the passenger would keep their feet on the back foot pegs and not try to put their feet down, because, even that movement on there. But when you're sitting at a light or something and you're not moving, you're perfectly still. Any movement that the passenger does, whether they're leaning over to scratch their ankle or looking behind them, or maybe reaching back for something, you're going to feel that movement. You're going to feel it. Not so much when you're moving. When you're rolling, when the bike's rolling, it's kind of like a gyroscope. It stays up and it doesn't falter too much. But if there's some major movement of the passenger, if your passenger is going to do a real turn to see something or turn their whole body, you're going to feel that. It may not be very dramatic, but you're going to feel the movement. So a good passenger would stay, with the driver or with the biker. They work together. They're both riding the motorcycle, basically. When you accelerate, the passenger obviously has to be prepared for the acceleration, in which case my wife usually puts her arm around me or she hangs on to me somehow. I don't have a backrest for her where, and I'm not going to do a wheelie or anything. I'm not going to take off, like I'm a jet taking off or anything that would potentially might throw her off the back either. I'm just going to start nice and smooth for her, where she doesn't have to worry too much. But she usually just wraps an arm around me. If I were to take off at a fast rate of speed, a fast acceleration, she's going to the force, the G-forces are going to pull her back. She's going to pull back on me. My hands are on the controls, so it's going to pull me back on the controls too, which I'm using my left hand for my clutch, I'm using my right hand for my throttle, could potentially cause some issues if you're not careful. The same thing for braking. If I have to brake hard, her body's going to push into my back unless she reaches back, grabs under the back of the seat and hangs on, which she can do. And I've stopped pretty hard before. Not intentionally, but it's like, okay, for some reason traffic all of a sudden slows down and you got to stop fast. She's not going to ram into me. She's kind of prepared for that. But if your passenger was to like ram into you and push you forward again, your hands are on the controls. That puts more pressure on your arms, which are, trying to shift maybe or trying to throttle down. And it could potentially cause some issue. I think a lot of bikers really prefer to ride solo just because of the fact that they have ultimate control of everything. There's no forces coming from somebody sitting behind you. It's just you and the machine. So you and the machine become one in every aspect. When you got a passenger on the back, in my case, I'm always concerned about my wife on the back. So it's an extra thought process. I know she's on the back. She's talking to me. She's talking in my ear. She's being my eyes and ears too. She sees when there's something I need to be aware of. Watch out, there's a little dog up there on the side of the road. I don't want to run out in front of you. Or watch this guy. He doesn't look like he's going to stop. She'll tap me on the shoulder or something like that. So, it's good to have her extra eyes and ears on the bike too. But when you're riding solo, it's just you and your full concentration on the road. Nothing to distract you or anything. You don't have your wife tickling you, blowing in your ear. You know what I mean. Anyway, as far as riding solo, the other thing is that I was thinking of, and I'm more on the line of taking a long trip. When you have a passenger and you're taking a long trip, it could be a little more fatiguing. You're going to need more baggage space than what I got on this bike. It could be done. You could strap more stuff on there every which way, but a bigger bike would definitely benefit for a long ride. Say you're going to maybe ride out of state, go for a nice long, all day, maybe 2-3 day run. A bigger bike definitely for two people. This bike, for me alone, I pretty much can load it up for my own needs. But to have a second person with their, if my wife was to come along, she's got more luggage than I have. And boy, I have stuff stacked up 4 feet high on the back, trying to make sure we got everything on the bike, on this bike. And I talked about it before. We've talked about buying an Ultra. It has a big trunk on the back and the larger hard bags on the side. A lot more luggage space on it. And then you can strap stuff on top of that too, which offers you the option of carrying more luggage. And we've talked about that, but a lot of times we talk ourselves out of it because we don't travel enough, and we weigh out the payments. And this bike's been paid off for a long time, so I don't have any payment on it. It's just putting gas in it, making sure that it's tuned up and ready for the road, and away we go. But a bigger, if we were to upgrade to the Ultra, we'd have that extra payment coming in, and how much. Because of that, how much do we need that upgrade? How much would we actually use that upgrade? We can ride this bike. We can take local rides. We can go to a pig roast or a swap meet or something that's local. And it's not a big deal because we're not loading up a whole bunch of luggage. You know, I'm lucky if I use half of one saddlebag for my personal stuff, and she can fill up the rest with whatever she needs to bring along. So this bike's adequate for local running. And for that reason, we don't do enough traveling anymore to justify buying a bigger bike. But I think a bigger bike would be way more comfortable for the passenger. Of course, you know, she would have the backrest and the armrests to where she could almost fall asleep on the bike. On a bike like this with the saddle, I'm sure people have fallen asleep. You better be hanging on pretty tight. You don't want to fall off. And I don't think there's any risk of that. I don't know very many passengers that have fallen off. As far as myself being a passenger on a bike, being that I am a biker and that I have my own bike and that I ride my own bike, I've got no inclination to be a passenger on anybody's bike unless it's a dire emergency situation and I need to have a ride. You know what I mean? I don't feel comfortable as a passenger because I'm an operator and I want to be behind the handlebars. I want to be the one operating the machine. That's where I feel comfortable. I feel uncomfortable as a passenger. My wife, on the other hand, doesn't operate a motorcycle and never has, so she's quite comfortable on the back and trusts me as the driver. So anyway, those were some of my thoughts today about riding. She posed a good question. Yes, there are some dynamics to having a passenger on the back and adverse to riding solo. So, at any rate, I appreciate all you guys' support for all the views and for the comments down below. If you got comments, leave them down below. And if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the videos. Till next time, cats, ride hard and die free.